Words are things, I'm convinced. You must be careful about the words you use, or the words you allow to be used in your house. In the Old Testament, we are told in Genesis that in the beginning was the Word. Words are things. You must be careful. Careful about calling people out of their names, using racial pejoratives and sexual pejoratives and all that ignorance. Don't do that. Someday we'll be able to measure the power of words. I think they are things. I think they get on the walls. They get in your wallpaper. They get in your rugs, in your upholstery, in your clothes, and finally into you. Words, punchlines. Words, punchlines. Words, punchlines. I know words.
I lived through the Black Plague and I had a pretty good time during that. I've seen The Exorcist about 167 times, and it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it. Not to mention the fact I'm talking to a dead guy. So what do you think?
That's what I said.
By the breath of his mouth, according to the Bible. And that means that not that the real world that you are looking at now, this wasn't created by words. But the world of separate things, separate people, separate events, that was created by words.
I'm ground scoring bags of inspiration, chopping up fat rails with a debit card that I got on credit while I stare at myself in the mirror. I'm writing thick lines that can be absorbed nasally or orally. I'm putting that drug in my face. I'm setting it directly on my brain with the and I roll a trip over to a K-hole that I fall into, realizing that what gets high must come down. But I don't mind, because my heart makes my blood fight gravity daily. The throwdown between my white and red cells make my body a continuous cage fight rife with ketamolocane that runs through my veins. I go to transformational festivals so much that I got addicted to transformation. A slave to the song, a slut to the string, a bass head basket case. I've booked all my phonics, I'm hooked on tonics, and Wooked on Tronics is a dope album even though it is an EP. But trust me, in 1889, Nietzsche said, without music, life would have been a mistake. And in 2016, Bass Nectar said, music is the drug. However, I don't think they took it far enough. A prophet with the Prince of Peace in his pipe offered me a trip to space, and as I closed my eyes, my third one opened. I saw the people on both sides of me. I saw the people in front of me and through them, to see the musicians on stage and through them to the artist painting and through them to the all-seeing eye that has been staring at me from everywhere and everyone as black and white diamonds roll off of my pupils to blanket my perception. My life flashes before my eyes as my ego dies. And I talk to the God that has always been in my heart, and knowing that this moment is perfect, it makes everything worth it. 5 years of brainwashing, worth it. Being beaten, abandoned, stepped on, discarded, worth it. Growing up, wanting to die, worth it. That moment was so divine that if I never had it, I wouldn't have realized that home was not a place, but a peace of mind. I wouldn't have met the love of my life. I wouldn't have followed the freaky, fun, frenzied funk duo known as the Floozies. I wouldn't have met the people that I know now who wouldn't have given me the best mushrooms that I ever ate. I wouldn't have seen the entity who told me to start doing this right here, right now. And I can sing loudly and proudly, oh mama, ain't it good to be alive? Art has made my life worth living. I know I'm supposed to be here in the moment, but looking at my past is like reading a good book, and I'm trying not to look ahead. The angel on my right shoulder is playing bluegrass on his harp, and it might be beautiful, but the demon on my left has a Hennessy sound system that's blasting the nastiest dubstep. The voices in my head are always playing main stage through 300,000 watts of PK bass, and it might make your bones rattle. But I have to tell myself to go to the poetry slam off to the side stage, the one that makes your hair stand on end. Because if I can dance to poetry, then I can dance to whatever show I'm at. Wanting to play that side stage makes me do more work than the music one does, and in order to live the dream, I have to do the work. I have to balance the dance and the labor. I want to live as art. That's the dream. I want to be the artist and a part of the piece, a part of the picturesque image of lot life, a fraction of the beautiful picture that people see when they first walk through the gates, and the melody swirls with the bubbles. So when I lean into that line-filled mirror and I catch a reflection of a chemically dependent psychopath, I feel blessed to have a skin that I'm finally comfortable living in. And I ask my reflection the same thing I'm gonna ask you. Can I get a fuck yeah, fuck yeah? Answers I wish I could give to the question, why do you wear a skirt? 1. Because it's more comfortable than being told what to wear. 2. Because I enjoy watching someone get so confused that they must walk up to a total stranger in public in order to question their lifestyles. I obviously wore it for your reaction. 3, because I got that big dick energy, and I'm sorry that you have a small enough penis and worldview that they can only fit into bifurcated clothes. 4, to start a campaign to bring awareness to the fact that there are a shocking amount of women's clothing that do not have fucking pockets. This drives up the demand for purses, and the fashion industry preys upon and extorts this exact fact. I plan on canceling any company that doesn't put pockets on their goddamned underwear. 5, because I'm a part of a deep state conspiracy to undermine the foundations of traditional marriage. I'm a trans lizard person sleeper agent that's focused on the long con that starts with making you very uncomfortable in public. 6, because when I was being forced to recite the Pledge of Allegiance, I took that land of the free shit seriously. Because I thought that the definition of liberty was being able to do what you wanted, dress how you wanted, and name yourself whatever you wanted. Autonomy was part of the package deal called freedom that is touted so highly. I wish I could communicate the hypocrisy of someone calling America the greatest nation in the world and then criticizing another of its citizens for how they choose to live peacefully amongst them. My wife was told that she was brave for dating someone like me. And while I side with the trans community, the troubles of the trans identity didn't hit home for this particular it until I realized that we shared something. Being told that it took an act of courage in order to love us. I hadn't realized that people who are trans are still considered less than people, considered mentally ill for how they want to live. So much so that censorship legislation gets passed in the land of the free by people who like to scream about free speech. So now the answer that I want to give the most to the question, why do you wear a skirt, is an answer that shows that this paradigm, this society, this viewpoint, and most of all this question needs to be changed. 7, because you fucking won't.
So what are you going to call it?
Basically exactly what it is. It's sound design and spoken word. I don't feel like I want to lie to anybody about that. Our dates take place in loud, dark, crowded rooms where more people want to talk to us now than have ever wanted to talk to us while we were growing up. Some couples have to book vacations. We call up our local LS dealer that has a book and vacation into our own heads. And what the world looks like outside, we are almost positive isn't what it really is, but the acid hallucinations got us sweating that we might not be able to see the beauty in them for long. We see the bubbles that frame main stage, the people who have left their worldly problems and their shoes at the door, and they dance, their tails playfully trailing behind them as they follow their ears. We watch people do magic as an appetizer. Dancing Lights has always been a 0-level spell, but that doesn't make it any less fun to watch them as we journey from a lawn chair and watch people practice the motions and the arcane. As a main course, we like to feast on the other's consciousness as the music is played at decibels that make you swear that the molecules that the air is made up of are dancing too. The dessert is a show of thousands of hippies trying to do normal things on heads full of not normal things. Wizards will stop at our table and ask if we are having a wonderful time. We look around at the kingdom of main stage and we look at each other and we don't have to say it for us to know that we have reached happily ever after again. It's so much better than the beginning of the fairy tale where I was sent away and they threw rocks at you. They were mean stepsisters to the both of us. The whole world was. They told us that the things we liked were stupid, that we looked stupid, that what we wanted was stupid, that what we ate was stupid, that the very music that made us smile and dance was stupid. We were told we were stupid and ugly and horrible, so what did we do? We found a party in the middle of nowhere where the only people there didn't care that everything and everyone was pretty stupid. That your stupid dance was your dance. No one has a dance that unique, and why would you want any different? No one was judging us for our stupid dance when they were too busy doing their own stupid dance. We found a kingdom where the crown was given to that who could throw the best show that weekend. We found a kingdom willing, happy, and welcoming. We wanted to spend the rest of our time here as long as we could have each other to share all that we saw. So out of spite for the evil stepmother society, we vowed to never leave and never come back without holding the other's hand as we walk through the gates. We will pay everyone else's dinner bill so they can feast on their own words while watching us perform so they can have dinner and a show on us. We have no problem being stupid because, warts and all, we stepped right off the short bus and started walking down the aisle. We had a morning service where we told our pirate preacher to hurry it up because we didn't want to miss the party that a bunch of other peasants threw so that we could live like kings, if only for a day or two.
When life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Make life take the lemon back. It better happen. I don't like to handle lemons. What am I supposed to do with me? Demand to see life's manager. Make life rule the day. I give King Johnson lemon. Do you know who I am? I'm the man who's gonna burn your house down with the lemons.
I have something I need to come to terms with, and I'd best get it out in the open. I need to cop to this, so to speak. So please be kind to me when I express this opinion. It takes a lot of time for me to own this hard truth within me, and to be honest, I've been extremely guilty of doing this behavior myself. So here it goes. I believe that calling a cop a pig is disrespectful. Yes, there are people who abuse their power and murder people of color in broad daylight with no repercussion that does the horrible act justice. But do not call them a pig. I've owned pigs, and they are way fucking smarter and nicer than 90% of the cops that I've ever met. Pigs have a fucking soul. I've taken my pig swimming before. They know how to cuddle and to be affectionate, unlike the uniforms that patrol our streets. Please do not ever confuse something I once referred to as a pet with a badge that refuses to out a racist coworker. People that expect us to be rats to our own neighbors but refuse to tell the truths about their own brethren. Please don't diminish the connection I once had to a beautiful, fun creature. I decided to move toward ethically farmed meat because I wanted to be more respectful. The last thing I want to do is put something like a pig on the level of those that support continued oppression, blatant disregard for human life, our God-given rights, the Constitution, their claimed religion. You want to insult a factory-farmed bully? You don't refer to him as something that the police and the military have used to search out drugs and bombs. You relate him to his worst fear. You call him a vegetable. Call the police a potato, and you say it like you're talking to Gollum. Potatoes. The petulant police potato poppers, plump and perspiring. Some of them are just as chunky and dirty. The internet is already referring to the stupid as a potato, and now that you've taken the meat out of them, the vegans can now eat the rich too. Bad boys, what you gonna do? Boil 'em, mash 'em, stick 'em in a stew. I was told that the problem that people are blaming on guns is actually the fault of God not being in our hearts and religion in our schools, that there just aren't enough thoughts and prayers to go around, and the portions of God that everyone gets is getting smaller. It's those darn non-believers that are messing everyone up. People from big-time preachers to representatives in our republic down to retirees that have nothing to do but vote are putting out pieces of propaganda to put perception precisely upon people who pray poorly or take no part in any parish, or perhaps people who pray of a peculiar preference. The pieces of the populace that are plenty more pious than thou are telling us that we need to pull our spiritual weight. Every time someone picks up a weapon to fire upon innocent children, it's my fault because I didn't believe enough. It was my fault for not sending enough prayers, even though I've spent plenty of thoughts thinking of how terrifying and horrible it is that we live in a world where children are dying and begging for protection. They are told repeatedly, "No, you will understand when you get older." They look at the empty desks of their former classmates who will never understand because they will never get older, only colder. So they wrap up with that warm, bulletproof blanket of your thoughts and prayers. They were able to live because there was enough God for them, but none for their classmates. Maybe God saw into those kids' hearts and knew they deserved it. I mean, God has a divine plan, right? So strong that there isn't a damn thing a person on earth could do about it. Maybe God wanted those kids to be more holy. Let's think it through. Maybe God is not willing, but he is able to stop school shootings. So that means these kids dying was supposed to happen because of something mysterious ways, for the greater good, for the gory glory of God. If God is willing, but he's not able to prevent school shootings, then people dying in schools and churches is omnipotent as fuck. I mean, God did everything he could. What did you expect for him to change hearts and minds against free will? That's some old Exodus shit. Come on. But if he is willing and he is able to stop school shootings, why do kids still die? Because if God is not willing, nor is he able to stop school shootings, why are you calling him God? It's much easier to blame people like me, people who don't believe. I've been a problem to many others throughout my life, so I might as well be the problem for this one. Because once I left school, I started to read the Bible extensively. I started to hear out other points of view. I started to take my fingers out of my ears and stop screaming, "I can't hear you." I stopped being spoon-fed worldviews so I could see why people believe differently and sought out knowledge. And because I did that, now people are bloodlusted. They just want to shoot Walmarts and churches and malls and schools. It's all my fault. And those that think like me, well, now I have evil facts in me, so I can't stop wondering why others behave differently. So I looked into these shooters. I read some of their manifestos, and my name never came up. They never once mentioned how they did this because they felt like there was a lack of faith, that they wanted to put the fear of God in others. So if they're a part of the divine plan, then that means me not believing is also a part of the divine plan. So it falls to the people who do still pray. Maybe you aren't praying enough. Maybe you aren't sending enough thoughts and prayers. Maybe you should spend more time on your knees. So that way, when the next person that picks up a gun to shoot innocent people because they felt helpless to the world around them, whether it's because you refused to listen or didn't pray enough, you will have no one to blame but yourselves.
If Jesus had an assault rifle, which one would he have?
Ecclesiastes 5:10.
When he comes back to Earth, which gun would he use?
1 John 4:20.
Because the only time the Prince of Peace got violent
Matthew 6:24.
was when the temple had money being exchanged in it.
Proverbs 14:31.
Money hasn't been being exchanged in churches, has it?
Matthew 7:1-5.
Has it?
James 1:22-26.
Has it?
Temple is infected. Commence divine cleansing.
When I think of Dwayne Johnson, I think of Jesus, and when Christians think of Jesus, they think of The Rock. They think of a chiseled, bearded man in a toga and a thorny crown, ripped muscles with the stage lights glinting off of his oily biceps as he chokeholds Kamala Harris, as Donald Trump in a referee shirt taps out 1, 2, 3 on the mat, as his hand is held high up in the air to thunderous applause and signs that read Christ 3:16. Christians see Christ as a superstar that can lay hands like a stone-cold stunner on any of them jabronis that don't agree with them. They see Christ as a model of a man looking over dark shades so cool that he could talk in the third person and still not come off like $1 million douchebag. The key word here is ideal, and if we are just going to be making up shit about the Savior, then I'm going to have my ideal Jesus be, look, and act like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He's got no funny Middle Eastern accent, and he's just light-skinned enough that American Christians don't mind that he's not entirely white Jesus. Christians see Dwayne Johnson on the cross, strong enough to break the arms off and beat all those basic Roman bitches that can now smell what their Savior is cooking. They get the sermon from the top turnbuckle so savage that he can DDT you on water. What do you think of that? It doesn't matter what you think of that, because we need to make sure to nail this character right, so we go back to the Bible. It is easier to get a camel through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get into heaven, Matthew 19. So that means Jesus needs to walk up, intercontinental title over his shoulder, to every idiot making more than $1 million tax-free dollars net profit off the word of God, and shove it so far up their candy ass that every other idiot putting off of people's sorrows and guilt are going to start investing into factories that make microscopic camels. Jesus said, "And when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray loudly, standing in synagogues and on street corners to be seen by others." Matthew 6. So The Rock kicks down the door to the live telecast and into the room with the preachers telling you to send in the biggest paychecks because they know what God wants more than you do, and starts laying down a smackdown so expensive that you have to watch it on pay-per-view. Jesus said, "For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." Matthew 25, that Jesus would stand in the middle of the ring and issue a challenge to every Christian with all the tired and downtrodden, every immigrant and poverty-stricken behind him, screaming, "Who out there wants to emulate the Great One? Who wants to be like the people's champion?" Because the thing is, if Jesus was the oiled-up white wrestler that you all think that he is, then he would barge into Joel Osteen's church, march past the golden calf, up to the $1 million altar, grab him by his curls, and drag him out in front of every camera that Osteen could have ever wanted trained on his slimy face, so that the eighth wonder of the world, the rock of the earth, could give him the people's elbow. And I terribly want to try to pop the bubble for the modern religious paradigm, but I know it's going to be just like your mom trying to tell you, wrestling ain't real. All you're going to yell is, "Well, of course it's real, Ma. Why would Stone Cold Steve Austin die for my sins if he weren't real?" A lot of Christians like to go around saying, "What would Jesus do?" Because he's the big man. Because he was the good one that everyone wanted to be like. I get it. Dwayne Johnson is an accomplished entertainer that has turned his mistakes into new growth, successfully reinvented himself. He has been extremely philanthropic and encourages people to be active in their government and their community. I look up to The Rock the same way y'all look up to Jesus.
I also don't emulate a single thing that he does. I'm a procrastinating, pot-smoking hippie. I have fallen from the path of the rock, strayed so far from the shining lights of WWE Raw, like a lost lamb in the valley of the shadow of the rock bottom. And Christians, that's okay. If you don't want to be like the socialist humble carpenter that rebelled against the established order, wanted to care about everyone regardless of origin or skin color, that's fine. But that means you have to go back to the original 10 rules. Commandment 9. Just be fucking honest about it.
Timmy. Etch the name Timmy into the scythe of my execution, madam. For the blood of my sacrifice shall yield a bitter fruit which you shall choke on. Trumped up charges in this kangaroo court. What the fuck, guys? I awoke into fire.
That's gross. Okay, wow.
Might as well shoot myself in the face. The drama. I am the hustle. I am self-appointed suitors to deprave an innocent soul of his nuggies. Iron and despair unto mine enemies. Deafened by the banshee's howls, then permit this dry-hardened terrorist into my mouth.
Propaganda Panda demands you put your hands up. Stand up for a stance that you would actually stand for. But Propaganda Panda has a rabid fandom. Propaganda Panda knows the master plan and knows exactly what's gonna happen. Take advantage of kind people filled with passion. I'll be damned if Propaganda Panda demands my attention. Propaganda Panda taking advantage of cads, lads, mad dads, ironclad comrades, grads, Islamabads, and Baghdad, usually in the form of ads. Ads that sell conflict and confirmation, and Propaganda Panda loves your validation. Diplomacy doesn't work. Desist and disperse. They're too dumb and defunct, delirious and demented to discuss deals with us. It is determined that we need to deepen the divide. That will do definite detriment to the damnable derelicts. And with Donald the Detestable, the double standard driving the Department of Defense, deporting dads, destroying dams and dikes, or Donald the Divinely Delivered, defending our domain from the devilish Democrats. Whatever flavor it is, it's understandable why we feel the need to join in the social media meme share fair meant to scare and tear, where we stand on soapboxes of our own making without cleaning out our own mouths first and spewing anything that makes us feel like we are right and they are wrong. But there are two things that Propaganda Panda lacks, and that's love, and that's facts.
Best 420 ever, never been better. No complaints down to the letter. Resting in the hammocks to beat the swelter while the cuts with the wondrously wicked wobble wizard with the wacky woke wooks watched a weird whimsy. The wobbly warlock wielded beats that rose you from your seats harder than concrete, filled with tweaks and vinyl squeaks and creaks, but feeling a bit like them hip-hop beats from those gangsta streets that have got us beating the heat. Getting down with the geeky peeps, cause we can be a freak every day of every week. The crowd coalesced, centering on the crunchy composer as they coughed out clouds of cannabis that consolidated into a concentrated column, and collectively we celebrated seeing sights that sometimes some only sing about. Many melodies moved many amidst massive music, with mountainous highs while the DJ laid low on the treble. Filthy fucking fortissimos filled with finger-licking flanger flares filled the air while folk vibrate just like jello. Ever-fluctuating frequencies FedExed forward feeling to the fun, fabulous fuckers that were free-flowing in a fantasy land, and amazed, my head repeats the phrase that goes on for days and days as I gaze in a days at the craze. Everybody, able body, wobble heavily.
Approximately 1933, Robert Johnson went to the crossroads and sold his soul to the devil so that he could play the blues. When asked why he would sell something so everlasting, his reasoning was, well, I wasn't doing nothing with it. And in the next approximately 5 years, Johnson went on to inspire blues music in ways we can only marvel at now, setting a standard to be met by music nerds and metalheads everywhere. Once people realized that selling one's soul to make music was not only lucrative, but fun for a while, the music industry boomed. And the devil, realizing a good business model, has now streamlined the process. Lucifer LLC has set up an app, Soul Pay. You're able to sell your soul from home now. You can seal off the rest of the world and create content to your heart's content. You can sell your soul to make a temple to something true and unique, and it's a big commitment to put your soul on the line for an art form. There's something poetic about a tortured artist. We all know. So when I see people putting their soul on the line for their boss, that's when stuff gets confusing. That's when I start watching people pour their time and energy into something that is never going to matter to them. How they spend countless hours appeasing millionaires, and they have no energy to give their family, their love, their pets, their lives, their passions, literally anything but that business that steals their heart and soul for money and not enough benefits. You can punch a clock until it's bloody in the face, but it's still you beating yourself up. People like Beethoven, Mozart, and Robert Johnson didn't die, they just became music. They died penniless legends, going down into the depths of legacy. When you hear someone say Vincent van Gogh, do you think of the man and all of the tragedy involved in his life? Or do you think of sunflowers and starry, starry nights? So if you ever get home one day and you see a crossroads in your distance, I promise you, it is okay to sell your soul to rock and roll. It is not okay to sell your soul for a paycheck.
Everyone thinks about pentatonic. Everyone thinks about pentatonic. Everyone thinks about pentatonic.
I flick the bottom of my little plastic baggie that was once full of inspiration. I can see the little crystals of creativity stuck to the sides, and it makes me salivate. I knew this day would come. I just didn't expect the bottom of the bag to rush up so quickly. You expect to become a better you with every line that you consume. I razor blade in cursive so that the art flows out of me freely. I hyperfocus every part as if I'm staring at it through a very short straw. Disappointment can kill any high, but nothing beats the disappointment of knowing one was double-dipping the bag to cope with daily life and missed deadlines. Those withdrawals have side effects, like bruises from beating yourself up, anxious, trembling hands, and a lowered immunity to being able to keep out all those voices. You're a failure. You never should have started. Loser, leech, waste, weak, weak, and I wonder what I gotta do to get another bag. I start thinking irrationally. Maybe I'll find inspiration in other people and hope to break empathetic connections with them when I've gotten what I need. I can steal ideas and lines and sounds and pawn them off as my own. Social media isn't a bad addiction to fill the hole, but it yields none of the same results that inspiration does while taking up exponentially more of one's time and brain cells. I've searched high and low for inspiration as I was backsliding from being happy to be alone into the darkness of being lonely. I've tried standing completely still so that I can make the come down last longer, but that doesn't make art either. I've lost the number for my plug, so I tried praying to my go-to guy. Please, please, it's National Poetry Month. I know I've missed a couple of days, but I promise I will do better next time, or until I need you again. I mean, I wanted to have a plan where I just relied on myself and didn't need the drug, but I was too busy doing the drugs to actually figure out how to do that. I was too busy milking my serotonin receptors, trying to find a small jolt of electricity to make a poem flow, to make a song beat. I ripped the bag open to spray the last little grains of crystalline light all over my reflection. I call the chemicals beautiful as I chop them into manageable pieces to organize into a stanza, and one by one I consume the lines. In through the nose, out through the pen. The straw bounces and rolls away from the mirror like everyone else will when I lie to myself. But the drugs make me so much better.
I tried to breathe in the music. I wanted to let the notes fill my lungs as synthesizers warmer than a mother's embraced engulfed me thicker than smoke. Every inch of my car vibrated with the tunes, reverberations that resonated at low double-digit hertz numbers, sang me melodies that I felt more than I heard. My dashboard danced along with the stereo's serenade, and I could feel the pitches bend and glide through the plastic, rubber, and metal. The sample of a siren's angel cuts through the ambiance like a graceful knife through weak paper, and the familiar beat strikes in time with the bright noise, a beat seemingly simple until more attention is paid to its complex design for small intricacies, and wet, bubbly, insectile textures connect each moment precisely in a flawless manner. Soundscapes are created as a journey for my consciousness. It's laid out in song, mental pictures of alien lands, interdimensional palaces, and underwater cathedrals, all with so much to observe with your ears and imagination, places with large enough spaces to fill with equally large tones. But no journey is without fear, uneasiness, or change, as the maestro is not afraid to steer you to where the stuff of nightmares are made. Like a rider pulling the reins sharply, the music turns, and a harmony of screeches and moans fill the void, pulling the goosebumps out of my skin. Clacks and creaks, croaks and squeaks, clanks and clinks fall in time with every bubble and whisper. I let my mind take the ride so I can be set safely back into the seat of my car, letting the music breathe me. My mind had jettisoned out the back hatch in a forward escape attempt halfway through the album, leaving me an empty husk, a broken soul in need of a jamboree so I could be surrounded until I was filled to the brim with a vibration that made me feel whole. Every time I do ketamine, I feel like God is having a cigarette break. Every psychedelic trip ultimately ends in a reflection of oneself, and we are divine by design, made in God's own image, so every time I do ketamine, I feel like the universe is experiencing itself. I'm staring at a mirror 5 years from now, looking at a memory from 5 years ago. My younger self is seeing a trailer for my older self, hallucinations of grandeur with the hint of possibility upon the delivery of industriousness. I'm connecting dots decades apart, downloading a direct path to be determined by my determination. Every time I do ketamine, I feel like God is giving me the lowdown on the down low, giving me all the dirty secrets that he can't tell anyone else who think that this reality that we see is all that there is. He can't tell all of the others who don't think that this is just a ride. He tells me this, like a boss who doesn't believe in his employees. He tells me like a preacher who has lost his faith He tells me because every time I do ketamine, I become less credible. No one will believe the guy who said, I snorted a line of white powder and I can see the future and the past. Time has been folded to be perceived as all happening right now. Glimpses of generations in front of me and ripples that I have made echoing throughout the eons. I wonder if God wants me to do ketamine because everything is actually going according to plan. Everything is happening exactly as it should, and God needs to look away. Every time I do ketamine, God walks over, sits down in the dirt, lights a cigarette, cracks a beer, and takes a load off, tells me something along the lines of, hey man, there's so much fucked up and crazy about this world. I screwed the pooch, and now I'm really busy. I need you to know your plan so I don't have to worry about you getting screwed up too. I can hear his dying hope. I can hear his desperation. I can hear how badly he just wants to take a break from being God. And when I'm able to float out of the ethereal plane, my balance returns to normal. I put my arm over his shoulder and I say something along the lines of, it's okay, dude. We're all human.
My favorite part of the TV show Silicon Valley is right after the Christian is evicted from the company with extreme prejudice, and while he is out of the room, the board members, the theological pioneers, the elite, all start looking at each other and go, that dude believes in the Bible. Everyone knows it's aliens that are watching us right now. Another titan of modern industry goes, actually, it's going to be AI that takes over this world. And another too young to be a billionaire says, religion is actually a construct made by the deep state to control people. And the entire boardroom falls into existential theological chaos. It's only a loose parody that these tech geniuses run the entire flow of information in the world, and what they really believe of the origins of our world, about reality, has about as much thought put into it as the third Matrix movie. Any one of you can find something funnier than a rich elitist owning a private jet and still believing in a flat earth? I'm listening. Some days I really wish Morpheus would look at me through those mirrored shades and offer me the red or the blue pill, and I could know just how Neo felt, doubting all of existence until my manager yells at me to take the Windex and red rag and go do my damn job. There are so many humans who believe that all we see is a simulation. Nothing more than Matrix code cloaked in human skin. There are people like you and me who believe that we are nothing more than ones and zeros piggybacking on a giant spherical computer in a digitized Milky Way. I occasionally ponder on this simulation that many believe to be controlling our perceptions. Philosophical quandaries dating back to a French philosopher that existed because he thought, or maybe he thought because he existed. I can't recall right now, therefore I won't. But he upturned Descartes of reason by doubting so hard that he could not doubt how human he felt just from doubting. He wanted to think so hard that it made him believe that we don't live in a VR headset in 15th century France. Every single simulation that we as human beings run on a computer is for educational purposes. Scientists use simulations to test millions of different results. Financial sharks use market simulations to learn how to better make money. Astrophysicists use them to know what happens beyond our atmosphere. If we are helping a simulation run, the only reason we could be doing it is for education. We would be in existence to teach. So I encourage you to educate the world by being the best you. Educate it by living it up so hard that you make ancient beings turn their heads. Make some alien go, this piece of data climbed the world's highest mountain just because it was there. Make a god say, holy crap, this group of code just beat every hurdle the world put before them. Force a data collecting robot to take note of your cog in the machine made up of 8 billion pieces by getting up on the microphone and singing the songs, saying the words, painting the pictures, dancing the never-ending dance. Because the only thing you should be afraid of is not reality itself, but not educating reality to who you truly are.
The most astounding fact is the knowledge that the atoms that comprise life on Earth, the atoms that make up the human body, are traceable to the crucibles that cooked the light elements into heavy elements in their core under extreme temperatures and pressures. These stars, the high-mass ones among them, went unstable in their later years. They collapsed and then exploded, scattering their enriched guts across the galaxy. Guts made of carbon, nitrogen, oxygen. The fundamental ingredients of life itself. These ingredients become part of gas clouds that condense, collapse, form the next generation of solar systems, stars and orbiting planets. And those planets now have the ingredients for life itself. We are part of this universe. We are in this universe. But perhaps more important than both of those facts is that the universe is in us.
When I reflect on that fact, I look up. Many people feel small because they're small and the universe is big, but I feel big because my atoms came from those stars.
Imagine the big red button. Its round, rosy glory, the glowing crimson light pulses with your heartbeat. Framed by neon yellow and black bars, adorned with giant block letters, "Do not push." It's glowing scarlet, as if it was blushing, as if it was expecting your touch. It seems like the letters grow larger. It seems like its plastic flip cover is too small. The button grows so large that it takes up the whole countertop. You know all of civilization could come crashing down. The heavens will fall. Everyone will shame you. Your family will disown you. But the button grows larger still, inching closer to your face like a bad date with even worse hygiene. You can't think of anything but the button now. It has been passively demanding a push since you first laid eyes on it, dressed in ruby, just waiting for your caress. You know moving your finger a mere few inches will give the button and you sweet release. That button has been waiting its whole life for you to push it right now, as if you didn't have all the time in the universe, as if there wasn't anything else in the world to do. How long would it take you? Stuck in a room, all day, just you and that button and boredom. How long before you want to play Russian roulette with a semi-automatic? I would last about 45 seconds. I would have hit the button before orientation was over. I would have hit it so fast one might have mistaken me for punching a clock. If someone had told me that realistic civil annihilation depended on me not hitting the switch, I might last about a half hour. Now, I know I'm bad with impulse control, but raise your hands if you wanted to hit that button too. Raise your hands like you are about to bring them down with a force so heavy that it'll trigger World War III. Raise your hand as if your palm aches for the crimson trigger. I want you to raise those hands in solidarity so we know everyone here has an itching to push that big red button. Let our limp-wristed brothers and sisters join us all as we understand everybody wants to push the big red button. And now anyone with their hands raised has no right to ever call what Adam and Eve did in the garden a sin. Personally, I'm such a lazy fat ass that I would have eaten the apple as if it didn't taste like the knowledge of good and evil. I would have eaten it in the absence of actual hunger. And if I'm the norm, then I already know what most of you would do. I hope that one day we climb down from the branches from which we once looked down upon Adam and Eve. I hope we can share the table in our harvest of the knowledge of good and evil, because the fact of the matter is we keep telling ourselves that story as if we would do anything differently. We keep repeating it as if we wouldn't recognize Adam and Eve as one of our own, as if putting wisdom-laden food in front of creatures starving for consciousness was ever much of a choice. The same tall tale about how not pushing the button is necessary for continued survival, that tired old yarn that has been playing in the back of your head just doesn't tangle with the idea that you, everything you hold dear, everything that you've inspired or created, all that would have never happened if someone hadn't done exactly as they were told. And we are retelling that story as if there's not enough poetry in the fact that humanity began by eating forbidden fruit, and humanity will probably end by pushing a big red button because there's nothing left to eat. We tell ourselves that story as if it doesn't push every button we have. you always have to start with the basics. You don't have to begin your musical piece with the basics, but you always have to start your workflow there. Making a steady beat that is easy to follow is essential for your first melodies to follow too. You start with your kick, and then your snare. Work, home. Work, home. You put your hi-hats in there to fill in the extra 8 hours a day. Work, fun, and home, rest in. Work, fun, and home, rest in. And then, like a sidechain compressor, everything fades into the background. As life makes way for the dreamy, beautiful, ethereal chords that make your hair stand on end, it comes into your life, and for 2 weeks or 2 months, 2 measures, all you can see is that beautiful chord that gives you hope. Remember that hope-filled chord. That's the key to the whole song. You keep the rest of your life up, so you time your kicks at home in time with every stroke of their notes. The snares of work are only a harsh reminder of the beat and the echo of their tones. And here is the heart of it. The heartbeat of your life, dancing with the melody of your creation, and just when you feel like it could go on forever, you hear the riser in the background. You've noticed the chords' pitches change, and then it becomes work, 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 and then everything cuts out. Now is the space for words. Well, it started as a folly, but now it's destructive, turning and twisting like your stomach when you know you've fucked up. Work becomes the release, the beat that you're still alive, because the half-measured journey home is still too short. Everything sounding like white noise behind it all, because you know more than skin-crawling subdermal sins that will surface. Maybe you try to rekindle those old chords 1 beat 2 and no, back down into the chaos and the gut-wrench and disgusting realizations that we are more animal than person, that we don't know how to treat this, but whatever the fight, there's always space. A bridge that connects one movement to the other, and even if work and home are too quiet to hear, they can't be left behind, because that's what keeps your head up and down and up and down, and from this point the song can go one of 2 ways, either by your choice or by the melodies. If the melody doesn't want to come back in, things get weird, and you can't force it. That reverberated sub-bass feeling becomes very prominent. You start filling all the extra space with the hi-hat rolls that feel overused before you can feel their sharpness. Fun, 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 rage, fun, 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 rage of the journeys between home and work start to get twitchy and glitchy. Maybe the melody can come back in, another instrument or the same, but the life of the song gets reignited as those chords become layered upon layers of out-of-tune melodies sung for nights on end with all the passion that makes you cry at beautiful music. Whatever path is chosen, remember, anyone who knows music theory will tell you to always end the piece on the same chords that first gave you hope.
Snap. Snap, 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 snap.
One of the few accurate things my parents taught me growing up was actions speak louder than words, and it was because of this, though, I grew up very confused. I was told I was a good kid while everyone's actions proclaimed that I was a danger to those around me. When I got emotional, people got scared. They said, you can be whatever you want to be, however, being free to make my own decisions was never on that list. My parents would say that I was the best thing that ever happened to them, but their actions dictated that I had been broken. Healthy, good kids don't have to go see doctors before they can do long division. Their actions yelled at me that I was a problem. I saw my first shrink at age 6. I wasn't acting like other kids, which is a funny way of saying socially awkward or didn't like being picked on. I was fed medication because that was suburbia style at the time. You do it like Emeril Lagasse. Having a kid doesn't leave a good taste in your mouth. Bam! Throw a little bit of this in there, and having a child is everything you ever wanted. I was 6 when I was told that I needed to eat these meds to make me better. But then when I became more aggressive, it was my fault that I had anger issues. Not that I had cocktails of chemicals coercing my credulous childhood into a crazy consciousness that centered on convincing me that my continued existence called for a cure. At 11, I was being fed experimental antidepressants on top of all of my other drugs. When I was moved to a boarding school, the staff at my new treatment facility would joke as they handed out the cups for everyone's daily doses. They'd call out everyone's name except mine. I was called the pharmacy at age 13 with 16 pills a day. I didn't know much, but I knew I shouldn't be taking more pills daily than years that I had been alive. To Christian Camp's credit, they weaned me off of the chemical teat, filling me with loads of coping mechanisms like praying to something that made me this fucked up in the first place and controlling my impulses through shame and regret. And it wasn't until I had left an openly dictatorial lifestyle that I realized that everything that I had been taught was a lie. Sometimes you have no support. Fairness isn't common, and some people suck. These were things I had to learn real fast and not get angry at them. Oh, there he goes. Back to the mental hospital again. Well, at least he's got God in. Oh, the church kicked him out. Oh, well, damn. Hey, is that a $10,000 scholarship still a thing? No. Okay, yeah. All my fault. Yeah, I know. I deserve to lose it all because my worldview that I was spoon-fed was wrong. You're right. And now I'm on my own. People still think I'm a problem because I self-medicate. Nobody cared that the voices telling me to hurt myself or others stopped the moment I took a puff of weed. No one cared that a plant was more effective than a slew of antipsychotics. And no one cared that I was still able to function, work, pay my taxes. No one cared that being dependent was never my idea to begin with. I'm an addict. You can only use the chemicals that they say because our government dictates morality. A pharmaceutical company would never put out a product that wouldn't work as prescribed. Doctors that are being paid to slang these medication from street corners are infallible. My God-given organic cash crop is a sign that I'm out of control. And that presents a problem to society. Oh yeah, I'm also not supposed to be mad about that too. Because even to this day, I'm not allowed to be frustrated around others. Others still get scared. No one wants to be around a 260-pound rage-filled oaf, no matter how justified his anger may be. So I have to hold everything in. For the same reason I had to take all of that medication when I was younger, not for my benefit, but for all of yours. I was told, don't let anyone else tell you how to live. Yeah, right. Like I have much of a fucking choice.
Rage and depression. People get depression in both senses of the word get. They get depression in the way that one gets a cold. So cold and despondent that they have to call into work sad. Sad that they're crying to the point that their nose runs like a horse. Hoarse as their voice gets when they stop talking to others for days on end. Other symptoms include the need to stay in bed, itchy watery eyes, increased hopelessness, and to top it all off, a lowered immune system. People also get depression as in they understand it. Society generally gets it. A world constantly on the cusp of conflict, countries classifying some corporations disguised as people more deserving of resources than people. Societies that are more connected worldwide but are more detached from the people standing in front of them. Families taking advantage of kin and blood for their own ends, realizing that your friends have evil in them too. That there are loves that don't last forever, loneliness emphasized on a daily basis by the platforms that are supposed to help us communicate. It's easy to understand. People get it.
People get rage, but only in one sense of the word. People will get rage the way that one gets a flu. Your body temperature will rise. Uncontrollable coughs of frustration, a sore throat from yelling, a swollen tongue from having to bite it constantly, your joints hurt, usually in the knuckles, and a feverish delusion can lead to a temporary crimson blindness. Society generally doesn't understand why people would be angry, though. Angry at superpowers that are playing chess with queens made of nuclear bombs, people as disposable pawns, mad that corporations are ripping off their workers of deserved benefits and or compensations, betrayed when politicians say they care about all of their constituents and then clearly don't. Societies that tweet more than they vote. Family that bring you into existence and then expect shit from you, loves that hurt, and if I feel so alone, why can't I scream? It's because I will be asked to leave. Businesses, people's homes, employments, I have to smile and pretend that I'm not sick. The main difference between all of this is that clinical depression exists. Generalized anxiety disorder is a thing, paranoia as a mental illness is a thing, but because I've been pissed off my whole life, it must be some reason outside of myself. There is no shortage of excuses for why I acted the way that I acted. The world, my school, my home, everyone played pin the tail on the mental disorder for most of my first 18 years, and I was lucky. I got to reflect upon myself and my wrongs. I had moments of clarity that helped me understand, and I find it funny that we have people who are naturally sad, naturally anxious, naturally afraid, but me having clinical rage? Who's ever heard of something so absurd? Eat all of these pills so not be confrontational. Don't you get it? Your bullies are going to get preferential treatment, don't you get it? We know that you wanted to go to a trade school instead of college, so now we're going to be mad that you squandered a college education. Don't you get it? You should be happy. Don't you get that anger is a legitimate fucking emotion? So now I hope I don't go home and lose my shit over some inconsequential shit that was shit to begin with, and lose a shit ton of time to wake up and go shit, because I look around at all of the broken shit that I'm now completely responsible for. My caveats to the rules as a god of friendship and how I received that title via the 11 satanic rules of the earth. Rule 1. Do not give your opinions or advice unless you are asked. But as a god of friendship, I say that you can scrap this rule with friends if you feel it would lead to a meaningful conversation or a few laughs. When you came up to me on the best 420 ever and asked me to be your god of friendship, I was too high to tell you I was too honored by the title. Rule 2, don't tell your troubles to others unless you are sure that they want to hear them, and if you want to call yourself someone's friend, the only thing that should follow, no, I don't want to listen to your problems, is right now because I have to do XYZ, but I promise I will as quickly as I goddamn can. It was because we did this with each other that you wanted me to be the best friend. Rule 3, when in another's lair, show them respect or else do not go there. With friends, shit talking doesn't apply here, just don't hurt your friends unless you know they want it. You, though, see the world as everyone's home. You treat everyone with respect. 4. If a guest in your lair annoys you, treat them cruelly and without mercy. Friends know that everyone is annoying, so friends take good with bad, but you don't have a cruel bone in your body, even though you've seen evidence that I do. 5. Do not make sexual advances unless you are given the mating signal. If you want them to still be your friend afterward, make sure you are honest and fair with them before, during, and after. No one needs to tell you this. Good partners see how your wants are always put well below others. They see that natural light within you. 6. Do not take that which does not belong to you unless it is a burden to the other person and they cry out to be relieved. And if you thieve from your friend, you do not know the definition of the word friend. And you still cared about me when I didn't know the definition of the word friend. 7. Acknowledge the power of magic if you have employed it successfully. If you deny the power of magic after having called upon it, you will lose all you have obtained. No one needs magic to get friends. Though I'd be lying if I said that you being a magical motherfucker didn't keep us successful in seeing a whole lot. 8. Do not complain about anything of which you need not subject yourself, and even though a friend is supposed to listen to another friend bitch, you never had to subject yourself to my presence after I, in the middle of going blind from seeing red, in the midst of my destruction of everything I loved around me, threw you across a room. 9. Do not harm little children. You aren't little, and you aren't a child, but you have the compassion and wonder of one, and I still feel bad for harming you. I still hear you yelling as you fly into a wall. I still hear you yelling, I still love you. You are still my friend. 10. Do not kill non-human animals unless you are attacked or for food. You saw me be an animal, and you accepted me. As a god of friendship, I wish everyone in the world had a friend they feel they don't deserve. I hope everyone has a friend like you. You saw yourself walk into my lair and asked me to be your god of friendship. I saw a god of friendship walk into my lair and asked me to join its ranks. 11. When walking in open territory, bother no one. If someone bothers you, ask them to stop, and if they do not stop, destroy them. And that's why I tell you to stop beating yourself up. Because that's my best friend that you're hurting.
Because that's my best friend that you're hurting. Because that's my best friend that you're hurting. 2008.
On October 13th, 2018, while attending the bluegrass festival known as Hillberry, I was already having a rough morning. My brain was full and obligation was making my mind heavy, and with a serious lack of serotonin making nothing better, I heard a band called Grassfed announce over the microphone that one of the founding members of the band that helped throw the festival I was present for had passed away the night previous. A band that I had called Sonic Happiness was going to be playing for a wake that night. And the music notes were made out of tears, the bars were made out of sorrow, the songs were made out of grief. It was really hard to be mad at the rain when you knew that heaven was crying too. On June 2nd, 2019, a freak 20-minute thunderstorm sent a helicopter spiraling into the Ozark Forest, killing 3 out of its 4 passengers at Backwoods Music Festival. On March 17th, 2018, I watched a security guard wrestle a man who had taken too many psychedelics to the ground and held him in a chokehold for hours, as the attendee didn't know where he was or what was happening to him in the middle of a psychotic break. Unbeknownst to us and the festival, the security guard was wanted in several states for domestic violence and assault. He took the hippie up to the guard shack where he proceeded to beat him until he didn't move anymore. And at Lost Lands Festival 2018 in Ohio, over 20 people all dropped at the same time from a fentanyl overdose that no one knew was in the cocaine, because drug testing kits are banned by festival insurance companies. 2 people were confirmed dead. Several more reported. I will be the first to tell you that I'm proud of how welcoming my community is to everyone. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, brown, yellow, red, gay, straight, fluid, asexual, you are welcome at the sermon made of music, at the altar made of a stage. The mechanical elves, the DMT entities, aliens, even the weather shows up to party with us, but god damn it, I wish the Grim Reaper would stop walking around the festival grounds with the shirt that said free hugs, holding up his scythe like a totem. I wish Death would stop buying a ticket to party with us while we celebrated life. On October 12th, 2019, the very next year at Hillberry, I didn't pay any mind to the workshop that was called Making Bubbles for Adults, but as I walked to my spot, I passed the bubble maker at main stage, and I caught part of his conversation with someone else. I caught how he had lost someone close to him. But making these bubbles reminded him that life, like a bubble, is finite, fragile yet fantastic. That making something beautiful and temporary was parallel to life. I watched as a hippie with a beer in one hand chased a bubble as big as a basketball. He tried to lean his head under it to blow it upward, putting his entire energy into saving its life, crawling on his hands and knees to do everything in his drunken power to keep the soap and air from touching the deadly grass. When the inevitable happened, you could see the grief pass over his face. The sorrow that lasted half a second as he held a half-second funeral for a bubble. Then he looked at his friends, smiling as his life was enriched. He felt more full than he had been before, and his energy radiated in the afternoon sun, surrounded by autumn Ozark trees that were turning magnificent oranges, yellows, and reds because their leaves were dying, where we burned the trees so we could have a fire to dance around when it was cold, where every part of the wheel is celebrated. His existence was enhanced by the life that a small, temporary, mortal bubble had given him, and the grim reaper ran by, naked save for a crown of flowers, his work robe thrown off as he joins us on vacation, a grateful skeleton, not a working stiff, running for the roses that were going to wilt in October anyway, and if I can see death in that way, I think I could live with that. I heard someone say, anyone who wants to commit suicide is selfish, because there's nothing more selfish than suicide, and I felt worse for watching my blinking light. They don't see my alarm bells going off constantly. I've been suicidal long before I knew there was a word for walking around with your self-destruct sequence constantly ticking, the tick, tick, tick down to your loss of sanity, trying to find a cure-all to make the countdown stop, or at least an excuse to put a few more seconds on the clock. I was really young when I watched the movie where the hero tries to cut the right wire to defuse the time bomb, and that's how I felt the doctors were trying to cut the right wire in my head with a pill to make the ticking stop. I watched the movie where the hero runs as fast as he can away from the beep, 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 before kaboosh, and the explosion knocks everything to rubble. And that movie was more realistic than the first one because I was never the hero in my movie. I was always the bomb. I was built to explode and destroy all that was around me with emotional fire and memory shrapnel. I was born wrong, and now I've grown up looking at a self-destruct button. It wasn't until I was 11 years old I realized other people felt like this too. It wasn't until I was 19 I realized if I went through with it, nobody else's life would stop, only mine. And it wasn't until I was 22 that I heard the joke that silenced the discord within me. The dark joke that made me okay with me and the others that feel like me now and those that felt like me in the past. If you are watching a movie and you don't like it halfway through and you're pretty sure you know how the movie's going to end, you should be allowed to walk out of the theater. You know what doesn't make the movie more interesting? The other people who are also watching the movie. Beep. I know that others watching the movie are loving it, and you know that it will make them sad if I left, so I watch a really shitty movie for them. Beep. It doesn't make the movie better by someone telling me, but I like this movie, and it doesn't make us like the movie anymore to tell us the parts that make you like it as if we should like it too. Beep. It doesn't make any more enjoyable that we are being told that what we see and feel while observing this piece of art called life, the universe, and everything, we are selfish for not feeling the same way you do. Beep, 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 beep is probably what the EKG machine sounded like for a few seconds while I was in the ambulance, in case any of you want to know how close I came. How my self-destruct sequence almost went to zero, and the reason I tried to overdose was that I realized how much of a burden I was to my mother. I wanted to die because of how much hurt I put on my loved ones. The only thing that has made me not feel this way is living artistically. Consuming art and good food and dancing and listening to music and performance. To do this constantly does not give me a living, it gives me life. It gives me seconds that I treasure, memories to reflect on. I am a burden to those around me because they have to listen to me vent over a microphone. I can't tell you a reason to keep winding the clock. I want to, but it's not my world, it's yours. And what keeps you here isn't something I can show you in a movie. I found my own scenes to thrive in. I had to put myself first before I can even consider doing anything, especially helping others, so I would never tell this to someone's face. But I yell it in my head, yeah, I am selfish. It's the only reason my credits haven't rolled yet. I know why the caged DJ speaks. I used to talk shit on DJs that talk during their set as if I could do better. I put DJs that pick up their microphone too much on the same level as people who give you their life stories to you online before letting you have the recipe that you needed to Google for tonight's meal. I started to make milk with just my knees when I was 5, making my ricotta so much creamier than what you can get at Whole Foods. That's what I thought of Apache when during his set he picked up the mic 4 times within the first 5 minutes to ask if we were going to get turned, or we were having a real good time, or we were feeling his shit. Dude, we're at a festival. I could be doing a million other things, but I came to see you. Yeah, I'm turned. Stop telling me what to fucking do. You're not my real dad. I thought that arrogantly until I started to make the music myself. It's not the music making part that's hard. Everyday practice makes perfect. There aren't going to be any shortcuts to making fun stuff, just like poetry. I didn't realize my hardest obstacle was my own motivation. My own lack of tenacity after I got my first eye roll, when I realized that not everyone wants to listen to this thing you created, not everyone feels your shit, not everyone wants to feel the way you do, and getting back up after you feel knocked down, like the song you made was made out of macaroni and paper plates that your parents felt obligated to put up on their fridge, that you wrote a poem on crayon with all of the R's backwards. Look, mommy, I put words together. Is it any good? I put every piece of creativity and will I had into a tune, not even a whole song, and when I realized no one cared about it, I felt so drained. I had forgotten that art is not art until it is taken in, until it is consumed, watched, viewed, because until someone sees it, it's just therapy. I used to say that the lead guitarist of one of my favorite bands was an attention whore. I thought he wouldn't play his best unless the crowd made enough noise. I thought that selfishly. Until I found out he went to see a therapist. I thought he just wanted to be a rock star that surfed on the cheers of his fans. It wasn't until now that I realized he was drowning in sound, hoping one of the things he hears is someone's applause, someone's thanks, some sign that making this music was worth all of his soul that he poured into a work of passion. He fights every day to make a dream happen, knowing everything would be silent if he ever gave it up. I used to make a concession to my arrogant demand from my artist. You can talk to your audience if you make it a part of the piece. Your hello and goodbye and whatever message from a soapbox you wanted to spew had to be artistic. So at the end of this poem, I ask you, as humbly as I can, if my work has left an impact on your life, please make some goddamn noise.
You are asked only to dig the sound. Listen to what is, using the sense of sound. When you listen to sound, you listen to it, just the random sounds, that are going on in the room, in the street, as if you were listening to music, without trying to identify its source, name it, or put any label on it at all. Just enjoy whatever sound may be going on. Just listen. Now we can go on from that listening to making sound ourselves and also listening to it. And instead of making sound, we learn the knack of letting it happen through us. You are asked only to dig the sound. And I use the word dig advisedly because it means something a little more than appreciate. It means enter into, penetrate, get right to the bottom of. Because when you are listening to sound, and when you are letting sound hum through you, this is one of the most obvious manifestations of the energy of the universe. This is one of the most obvious manifestations of the energy of the universe.
I am a bone mech protected by meat armor, equipped with a poop cannon that I reload by eating hot dogs. I'm a baker that likes his brews, and I'm a brewer that likes to get baked. I like to listen to down-tempo, lo-fi music on the highest quality speakers at increasingly loud volumes, so that every imperfection is broadcast. Every raindrop, white noise, background sound, I want the dust on your favorite vinyl to be deafening to the seats in the back. I like yeast more than I like people, and I think that all animals, plants, and even mushrooms have a soul, but I still eat them because I don't. I let my hot tea get cold, and I don't fuck with cold beats unless they're fire. A comically contradictive, clumsy clusterfuck crashing through the cosmos, a curiously catastrophic clown keen on being the most literal poet that you've ever met. Carefully crafting sonic creations, creating a contented and comfortable cottage for my kin, where the cricks and cracks in my armor become the percussion to a brand new beat. I talk at 120 BPM, so if I put a kick drum to my words, my poetry can be classified as house music. My heart beats with that steady kick, but I can't keep a rhythm, so I just call it experimental music to mask the anxiety I feel, because I'm equal parts selfish and stupid, a narcissist filled with self-loathing. I'm a strange, non-binary, bisexual. I think highly enough of myself that I can make art that can change lives, but I think little enough of my place that none of it is good enough for people to see. And yet, I know that there are galaxies in me. Because every time I cough too hard after I puff on a joint, I can see stars. I crank out kegs and I buff up beats, and I'm always ascending, attaining awareness that I'm aiming for those stars not above me, but the stars within me, my own universe, creating explosions on my inner conflicts, using the deafening noise so that I may strive not for a better, but a more artistic life. Because to me, living a musical life and a spiritual one are the same thing.